I already reviewed these two phones, but I think it's also interesting to focus on their differences. And my words on which one I think is the better value might surprise you. This is OnePlus 8 versus 8 Pro. Design. The design of the two is basically the same, one is just a bigger version of the other. This is not to be neglected though, the 8 feels significantly smaller than the 8 Pro. That also goes for the camera bump. Apart from this though, both are very much alike. Same metal and glass construction, same alert slider and same premium vibration motor. But only the Pro is certified for water resistance. Display. Both displays feature the same great colors and very high brightness. They also share the same punch-hole selfie camera and curved edges. That unfortunately also means that both are just as prone to false inputs on the screen, which is still annoying. Where they differ is in their refresh rate and resolution. Both are very sharp and smooth. The 8 Pro just gives you that touch more sharpness and smoothness at 1440p versus 1080p and 120Hz instead of 90Hz. When comparing them side by side, this is noticeable. In day-to-day use, the difference is not as stark though. The jump from 90 to 120Hz is not nearly as big as from 60 to 90. Scrolling is still a breeze on either. And they also both share the same great stereo speakers to add to the media experience. Performance. My OnePlus 8 actually has more RAM and storage than my 8 Pro at 12 and 256GB versus 8 and 128GB, but there's no perceivable difference in reality. These are the fastest Android phones you can find with diminishing returns compared to the previous generation. No stutters, fast loading times, overall the same great experience on both. That also goes for the super fast under-screen fingerprint sensors and face unlock. The 5G modem is also the same. Software. The software is literally identical on both phones. That also means that they both lack an always-on display. Apart from that, OxygenOS is close to stock Android, which contributes a lot to performance, along with the increased scroll and animation speed. And there are still tons of features for customization. Camera. The camera system is where the biggest difference between the two comes into play. The 8 features a main 48MP IMX586 sensor, as well as a 16MP wide angle and a superfluous 2MP macro camera. The 8 Pro has the same 586 on the back, but it uses that one for its wide angle, while the main sensor is the much more capable IMX689. And that's paired with an 8MP 3x optical zoom and that infamous color filter camera as well. In good light, the difference in optics is not as noticeable. The 8 Pro does give you more contrast and more natural colors though, and it's also not as prone to overexposing like the regular 8 sometimes, and only sometimes, is. The 8 Pro's photos also have slightly more dynamic range, which is noticeable in the shadows. In good light, they are rather close though. The wide-angle camera is noticeably better on the Pro, mainly because it uses a way better sensor. It's way less soft and closer to the main camera than on the 8. And of course, the 8 Pro also has a 3x optical zoom, which the 8 lacks completely. In low light is where they start to drift apart. The night mode on the 8 Pro is just more capable when it comes to colors, shadow detail and brightness. That said, the 8 isn't bad. The macro mode on the 8 Pro's ultra-wide camera is much better than the dedicated 2MP macro camera on the 8. That thing is just garbage. The selfie cameras are the same on both, but the processing is way different. The 8 is much warmer and maybe a bit less natural, but I actually prefer it to the 8 Pro, the selfies from which I just don't find that great. Video recording is basically the same on both with great stabilization. Battery. The 8 and 8 Pro last for about the same time on battery when both are set to 1080p, which makes sense given that the 8 Pro has a slightly bigger battery but a higher refresh rate screen. When turning the 8 Pro up to 1440p, battery life goes down from about 6 hours of screen on time to more like 5 though. That said, both will comfortably get you through a day no matter what. They also charge just as fast over the cable with 70% in half an hour via Warp Charge 30, but the 8 Pro can charge at those speeds wirelessly too, which is super convenient. It can of course also be topped up on any old cheap pad, while the 8 lacks wireless charging completely. Conclusion. The 8 Pro is obviously the better phone. I don't think that's a question anyone has. That's also why I didn't give points. The question is rather by how much. What you get for the additional money with the 8 Pro are flagship features like the sharper 120Hz screen, certified water resistance, wireless charging and a significantly better camera, so the difference isn't huge. And you might not need those things, but then you should get a OnePlus 7T, not an 8. Because that phone is even cheaper and has all of the same benefits as well as a zoom camera, better macro mode and a flat screen. That's why I would say the 8 Pro is more worth it than the 8. It's more expensive, yes, but you actually get something for the additional money. The 8 is this weird middle child that doesn't really add any features over the 7T but is priced a lot closer to the 8 Pro. It just doesn't make any sense in the lineup. And yes, it does have 5G, but until that's relevant, you'll probably find yourself upgrading again, especially because it doesn't have millimeter wave support for truly fast 5G. So if you want an 8 series phone, the 8 Pro is the one to get, otherwise the 7T makes much more sense. If you enjoyed this video, you know which buttons to press, don't forget to press that follow button on Twitter, and don't forget to stay home and stay healthy. I'm Brian, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.